For lesson 2C in our mastery grid, you're going to need 2 pieces of paper. One of them looks like this. It's an orange chart, and it says 2C, Sentences from 7 Wonders of the World. And then you'll see that it's divided into simple sentences, compound, and complex. And then the other page you're going to need is a white one that's got some squares on it. So you're going to put your first and last name at the top. And then let's do a quick review of what we're going to be looking for in sentences. You're going to be doing a sort. So in order to identify these sentences, I'm going to give you again my strategy for how I would do it. I would look for compound sentences first. I would look for a comma with a coordinating conjunction or a semicolon. And on either side, you'd need a subject and a verb. A subject and a verb. I think those are the easiest ones to identify because it's pretty clear from the get-go whether or not you have one of these things. Now remember, just because you see a comma conjunction doesn't mean it's compound. It could be a list. So you have to go that next step and make sure there's a subject and a verb on both sides. If I haven't found that, the next thing I would go and look for is a complex sentence. In order to be a complex sentence, you've got to have a dependent clause, which means you need a subordinating conjunction, and we've been showing them by putting boxes around them, followed by a subject and a verb. That's your dependent clause. And then somewhere else, either in front of it or after it, you would need an independent clause. And we've talked about how sometimes they can be kind of in the middle. So you need one, at least one, dependent clause or subordinating conjunction. If you did not find a simple sentence or a compound or a complex sentence, then chances are you have a simple sentence. And that is just one subject or verb or one independent clause. So here's the process that I would do. I would not cut all of these out because the chances of you getting this all done in one day are pretty slim. You're going to work one sentence at a time. Using the markings we've done in class, you're going to label the sentences to figure out if they're simple, compound, and complex. Once you figure it out, cut just that one sentence out and glue it into the correct column. All of these sentences come from this book called The Colossus Rises, and it is a 7 Wonders of the World book. If you like Harry Potter and you liked Greek mythology, you'd probably like this one. So I'm going to look at the first sentence. It says, it took us a moment to realize that the white fragments were his teeth. So first, I'm going to get rid of any phrases that I see. And I see an infinitive, to realize. So I'm going to put brackets around it. And that's it. So now I'm going to try and identify the type of sentence. I'm going to look first to see, is it compound? Do I see a comma with a coordinating conjunction or a semicolon? And I do not. There's no comma in here at all. So now I'm going to look for my complex sentences. Now you may need to open up your notebook to the page that has your subordinating conjunctions on it if you don't know your subordinating conjunctions by heart, which I'm thinking you don't. But I know right away I can recognize that that is a subordinating conjunction. In order to be a subordinating conjunction, though, it's got to have a subject and a verb after it. That what? That the white fragments, that's my subject, were his teeth. That's a dependent clause. Now I've got to make sure there's an independent clause. I'm left with, it took us a moment. It is the subject, took is the verb, so this is an independent clause. So what I would do is cut just this one sentence out, and then you're going to glue it in the column where it says complex sentence. Now, because we're not going to be doing this all in one day, I can't stress this enough. I would just put one little dot in the middle. You do not need a lot of glue. What will happen is that it's going to bleed all over the rest of your papers and get stuck, and then you might have to redo it. So this is a sentence that's complex, so I'm going to glue it in the complex sentence column. All right, let's do another one together. It says, have fun in Ohio, but don't expect me at your funeral. Now you'll see that I have you in parentheses. We've talked a little bit about the understood you. In a command, the subject is you, but we don't walk around saying you do your homework or you take out the trash. It's just assumed that you are the subject. So we call that an understood you, but I put it in the parentheses so you have something to label. So first step, always step, look for phrases. And I see in Ohio, and I see at your funeral. So now I'm going to look for my sentence types. The first one I'm going to look for is compound. I'm going to look to see, do I see a comma coordinating conjunction or a semicolon? And I do. I see a comma, but. So I'm going to circle it and label it CC. Now, in order to be compound, I've got to find a subject and a verb on both sides of that comma conjunction. So you is the subject here. You what? You have. And then you is the subject on the other side. You what? You don't expect. So that sentence is compound. I'm going to cut just that one sentence out, not all of them, but just that one. One little dot of glue, and then stick this there as a compound sentence. All right, and let's do one more. The Colossus fell with a deafening whomp, while its torch bounced against the stony soil. First thing I'm going to do is look for phrases, and I see two prepositional phrases. With is a preposition with what? With a deafening whomp. And then I see against. Against what? Against the stony soil. So now I can start thinking about types of sentences. I'm going to look for a compound sentence first. Do I see a comma coordinating conjunction or a semicolon in this sentence? And I do not. There's no comma at all. There's no punctuation in the middle at all. So now I'm going to look to see, is it complex? Do I see a subordinating conjunction? Now I might need my notebook out, but I know my WH words, a lot of them are subordinating conjunctions. While is a subordinating conjunction. While what? While its torch bounced against the stony soil. That whole thing is part of the dependent clause. The subject is what? Well, it's not its. If it was it by itself, maybe, but it with an S is a possessive. It acts like an adjective describing the torch. So torch must be the subject. And what did the torch do? It bounced. So there's my dependent clause. Now I've got to see if there's an independent clause. I have the Colossus fell. Well, that part of the sentence is about the Colossus, which is a big statue-ish thing. And what did it do? It fell. So now I have an independent clause. And an independent clause plus a dependent clause, we know that's a complex sentence. So I'm going to take a dot of glue, not a lot, just a little dot of glue, put it there, and glue it. So your task is to finish this, doing all of these sentences, making sure they're labeled. If you turn this in to me and there are no labels, I will hand it right back to you. You're either lucky guessing or taking the answers from somebody else. I want evidence. I want proof that shows me that you understand this so that you're prepared to take your big summative assessment. If you have any questions, indicate that on the Mastery Grid tracking chart and I will come help you.